Hey folks, this is JR with DIY Prepper. Welcome to the channel. I know it's been around 2.5 weeks since I've released a video, so sorry about that. I got a little behind on my second channel, so that's one thing I've been working on. I've released a couple of videos over there trying to get caught up. I'm also going to try to be a little more consistent with that channel going forward. Then another reason I've gone a little while since releasing a video, and this goes along with today's topic, and that's just, I needed some time off. I realized that I hadn't done that in a while, so I took a week off a couple weeks ago, spent last week catching up on my Reloaded channel, and now I'm back. But a lot of the time when we think of threats that we could face, we think of outside threats, things like bad guys breaking into our house, marauders trying to take our stuff, or disasters like big storms. But the fact of the matter is that some of the most dangerous threats can come from inside of us. So today we're going to talk about kind of the more mindset or mental aspects of survival. This is really important since if you're compromised there, it's going to limit your ability to deal with other problems that are going to eventually crop up. Even simple stress can limit your ability to deal with small issues, and in more severe situations, you may freeze up entirely. One of the most important things you can do from a preparedness standpoint is just accept that stressful situations are going to happen. That's true in everyday life, and it'll only get worse when the rest of the world is falling down around you. I know for me, stressful situations are always a lot worse when I don't see them coming. As a prepper, I do my best to anticipate different things that could come up so that I can reduce the chances of those things happening. Unfortunately, it's impossible to predict every single thing that can go wrong, and when something happens that you didn't plan for, it seems like there's an additional layer of frustration there. So, on top of trying to be proactive, one thing I need to do better, and this may be helpful for some of y'all, is to be more accepting of the fact that there are things that I can't control. That way, we can all just skip the part where we're frustrated about the situation and just skip straight to solving the problem. Then, while stress can prevent us from being able to function effectively, it can also have much more severe consequences as well. And one of the worst is losing the will to live. This, unfortunately, will probably be a major issue for a lot of preppers, especially during a severe long term situation. If there's widespread loss of life, then the survivors could be mourning for multiple loved ones all at one time. Then, for people who are heavily involved in their jobs, not having that anymore could be damaging as well. A lot of folks derive their sense of purpose from their occupation, and if that's taken away from them, it could cause issues. Then, even just seeing the world or their local area in a fallen state and not knowing when or if things will return to normal could be damaging to a lot of people. They may start dwelling on all the pain and hardship they and others are experiencing, which can cause feelings of depression. When things like these start to happen, people may start to ask themselves, what's the point? And even dedicated preppers who have years of food and other supplies set aside may look at the world around them and start to feel like it just isn't worth it anymore. This could happen gradually or it could follow specific traumatic events. But the most important thing you can do when you reach this point is get help. During normal times, there are various hotlines and other professional services that you can and should use, but if those aren't available, try to get help from wherever else you can, including family, friends, or clergy in your area. And really staying connected to the folks around you is one of the best ways to prevent yourself from getting to that point in the first place. Being isolated is one of the worst positions to be in, and I think preppers may have a bigger issue with this than the rest of the general population. We tend to be more independent, strong willed, and take pride in being able to take care of ourselves, our loved ones, and in our ability to deal with situations that come up. While these are usually good qualities, they can be counterproductive when we're struggling since we may be hesitant to ask for help or let others know that we're dealing with stuff. But the bottom line is we have to stay connected to those around us. Talk to the people in your group, whether it's family members or friends. Also, take time to foster those relationships by doing things together, and that includes both now and after things start to go downhill. While things are relatively normal, have movie nights, go out as a group to eat, or any other number of things that can help build those relationships. Then if the world goes down the toilet and you can't do those sort of things anymore, play board games together. The thing is, just take care of those around you and let them take care of you also. Faith and faith communities can be very good for this as well. I don't have a whole lot of people that I like to talk to about my problems, but a good chunk of them are guys that I go to church with. Then, of course, faith itself can be useful as well. Another important thing to do during stressful situations is try to keep yourself busy. If we're to find ourselves in the middle of a long term disaster, many of the things that we use to keep ourselves distracted would go the way of the dodo bird. If the internet's down, you're not going to be able to scroll through social media, and if we're dealing with a widespread grid collapse, it's probably not the best idea to use what little backup power you do have to binge watch Office DVDs all day. And unfortunately, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. The less you use your mind in productive ways, the more likely you are to focus on negative things like wondering why all this is happening, how unfair it is, whose fault it is, and all sorts of other things that aren't really all that helpful. Books would be very useful with this. I personally spend most of my money on nonfiction reference materials, but at the end of the day, those can get a little dry. So be sure to get some fiction books just for entertainment as well. Then look for small projects that you can do around your house. Maybe also make craft items for other members of your group, or just dedicate some time to your hobbies. Then, even if you're able to shelter at home, it'd still be a good idea to practice some basic wilderness survival skills. While you may or may not need them, at the very least, they'll give you something productive to do. Exercise is another good option, and it'll have the added benefit of helping you get in better shape. Just keep in mind, though, that if you injure yourself during a time where medical help is a little hard to come by, you could be in a very bad situation. Even if it's something you can recover from just by resting, that injury could prevent you from doing tasks that you need to do, like growing or harvesting food or helping with defense. Then, aside from stress, another thing that would be very detrimental during a long term survival situation is fear. You can experience fear that happens suddenly but doesn't last too long, or it could be chronic, kind of like stress. For example, if I'm walking across a parking lot and lightning hits a nearby building, I may need new underwear, but I'd be okay after that's taken care of. It would be sudden, but it'd be over very quickly. But in a disaster, there could be some very legitimate things to be afraid of that are ongoing. It could be other people or something environmental. And if someone is living in a constant state of fear, it's obviously going to affect them in other ways, both mental and physical. Then, also, if somebody experiences a lot of shorter moments of terror regularly, it can have the same effect. Like with stress, people react to fear in different ways. I'm sure most of y'all have heard the phrase fight or flight. Some people, when they get scared, tend to act aggressive and want to fight their way out of it, while others will take flight or run away. And really, the circumstance determines which one of those is the right move, and as an individual, we need to be able to do both and have the mindset and wisdom to pick the right one at the right time. A while back, my family and I were on a road trip, and I was standing next to the truck filling it up with gas. There was a guy there asking for money, and he got angry when I told him I didn't have any. Now, I was carrying, so if he decided to run up on me and get physical, I could have stopped him, but I had my wife and my kid in the truck, so rather than stand there thumping my chest to prove how big and bad I thought I was, I stopped pumping gas, got in the truck, and left with him still yelling off in the background. It was just a situation where allowing things to continue to the point where they got physical had absolutely no benefit whatsoever. And also keep in mind, when you're traveling, you have no idea if the DA is an idiot who's hostile to people defending themselves. But really, though, that situation was less of me taking flight in a panicky kind of way, like, ah, and more of just a calculated retreat. But there was a time when I went to pick a pepper in my garden and a cicada made the loudest, most terrifying noise I ever heard, and I did run away from that in the least manly way imaginable, so that was flight. Now, of course, there are times when you have no choice but to fight, and in those situations, you need to have the physical and mental ability to do that, and also have the right tools. But there's a third way that people react to fear, which gets overlooked a lot, and that's paralyzation. And to me, that's kind of funny since it's a very common reaction. I don't have any statistics or anything to back this up, but just by watching people, I bet as many folks freeze up when they get scared as run away or fight. In my opinion, though, this is probably the worst way to deal with fear because you're just stuck there at the mercy of whatever's happening. At least with fight or flight, you're doing something that could increase your chances of survival. Fear paralysis can happen suddenly, like if someone hears a bunch of loud pops that shouldn't be happening and they just go all deer in the headlights, or it can be long term. Like with stress, excessive fear can cause people to shut down. Maybe something happens that makes them too scared to go outside for any reason, or their fear could even make them catatonic if it's severe enough. However, there are ways to reduce fear, and a lot of this is stuff that you can do now before things get really bad. First, just keep preparing. Many times, fear and anxiety are due to a real or perceived lack of preparation. If you've watched my channel for a little while, you probably know that I used to be a band director. And over the course of my career, and also during my time as a student before that, I can tell you for certain that if someone wasn't prepared for an event like a concert, a contest, or some other performance, they were always more nervous than if they had practiced and taken their preparation seriously. And preparing involves a lot more than just buying a bunch of supplies, while having plenty of water, food, medications, freedom seeds, and all that other mess does help you be more prepared and can give you more confidence going into a situation. It's only one part of it. The mental game is a lot more important. So, do your best to prepare for as many situations as possible. If you live on a coast, write out a full hurricane plan. Figure out what circumstances would make you bug out and know what you'd take with you. Then, if you plan on bugging out for that or for any other reason, practice loading your car up and develop strategies to make that process as discreet as possible. For defense, have a home defense plan where every member of your family knows what they're supposed to do, including your kids. Maybe one of you calls for help while the other sets up a defensive position where you can protect everyone else. Then, if you have small children that you need to get to, coordinate your movements with your older family members so that you can work as a team. Planning for a wide range of circumstances is beneficial because it reduces uncertainty. It's also helpful to have predetermined courses of action because when you're under duress, your decision making will probably be compromised. If you've thought all of this out ahead of time when you're thinking clearly, things will probably turn out a lot better for you. One thing that I did several years ago was make a document listing the most likely events we could face where we live and then how we deal with them. I also wrote out other things like additional fortifications we'd add to our home and an inventory of what we had and what we needed more of. It's actually something I probably need to update, but if you do that, you can print it out and have a family preparedness binder that could be used as a reference material when needed. Now, of course, there's a lot that goes into building a family preparedness plan, and some of the most important things are, first of all, knowing where to start, and then signs to look out for that things could start to go downhill. So if you want to see what I'd do if I had to start over as a prepper in 2024, then click here. Or if you want to learn about the signs that things are about to get really bad, then click here. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.